Bruno the Hammer Varga hit Leo with a big punch. It was so strong, it felt like a bomb going off. Blood flew everywhere. Leo fell hard onto the floor of the fighting cage, his body crashing down. The floor was glowing with colorful lights. This wasn't a normal place. It was a secret fight club under an old building in the city. Leo's legs shook. He held his face and looked shocked. He couldn't believe what just happened. His dreams were broken. He didn't know the fight was planned to make him lose. Victor, the man who ran the fight club, smiled an evil smile. He said in a mean voice, "Losers stay down." Then he laughed loudly. His voice echoed around the big room. He had already made money by cheating and didn't care who got hurt. The crowd, people who came to watch and bet on the fights, started to whisper. They looked around, scared and unsure. No one cheered. Some fighters looked angry. One old man, who used to fight, stood still and quiet. He looked at the scene with sad eyes. Near a metal pole stood a strong man. His name was Jason Statham. He was very tough and smart. He had big muscles and looked calm but ready to explode like a storm. He didn't say anything yet, but his eyes were watching everything. Victor walked toward Leo and kicked him. "Crawl away, loser," he said. People in the crowd gasped. The music playing in the room thumped like a giant heart. Jason took a step forward. His hands made tight fists. He growled loud enough for everyone to hear, "Your game is over, Victor." The room felt different now. Chains hanging from the ceiling clanked. Smoke swirled around. Victor stopped smiling. He looked at Jason, and for a moment, he looked scared. Jason's eyes were locked on him. They were full of fire. It felt like something big was about to happen. Would you be brave enough to stand up to a cheater like Victor? Before Jason could fight, someone shouted, "Like and subscribe to see what happens when Jason faces off with a big MMA fighter. And comment where you're watching from today." The underground fight club glowed with flashing lights. People were busy wrapping their hands to get ready for fights. There were bloodstains on the floor. People who bet money on fights were pushing each other to see better. The music was loud and fast. Bright lights flashed on and off. The air smelled like sweat. The fighters stared at Victor, the boss, with angry eyes. Jason Statham moved through the crowd. He had trained in Muay Thai for years. That's a kind of fighting. His eyes were sharp and serious. He looked at people like he could read their thoughts. His strength was quiet, like a sword hidden in a sheath. Most people didn't notice him, but he was there with a purpose, to stop cheaters like Victor. Every step Jason took was like a promise to bring justice. His eyes looked straight at Victor, who was the heart of the fight club's lies. Victor wore gold chains. They sparkled in the light. He yelled at people, "I make winners, not worms." He liked cheating. He made fighters lose on purpose so he could win money from bets. A long time ago, Victor lost an important fight, and he never got over it. Now he cheats to feel powerful. His smile was like a crown in his world of flashing lights. Leo, a young fighter, stood in the corner. His hands were wrapped in tape. He was scared but brave. He wanted to win the fight to help his sister, who was in trouble with money. He didn't know Bruno the Hammer was paid to beat him unfairly. An old man who used to fight looked at Leo and whispered, "That kid's got fire." But then he saw Victor holding a piece of paper. It was a betting slip. That meant the fight was fake. A trick. The crowd didn't know. They cheered and shouted, not seeing what was really going on. The fight club was like a ticking time bomb. Fighters joked and made fun of each other. People yelled and placed bets. All of this made Victor richer. Jason stared at Bruno. He moved his hands slowly, getting ready to fight. He had made a promise to stop the cheating. Leo's shaking hands were full of courage. His eyes were full of anger. Victor's shiny chains and lies were building a fire that Jason would soon explode. The crowd shouted louder. The lights blinked faster. The air felt thick. It was like something was about to break. Victor shouted like a volcano. But the blinking lights showed the truth. Justice was close, ready to cut down Victor's fake kingdom. Jason's shadow was now bigger than Victor's glowing world. Victor's voice cut through the music like a sharp knife. He pointed at Leo and said, "You're no fighter, runt." Then he told Bruno to destroy him. His gold chains sparkled. People in the crowd waved money and laughed. Fighters made fists. Some whispered angrily. Leo stood strong. His fists were shaking. Blood ran down his face from a punch, but he didn't give up. He still believed in saving his sister. Jason stepped closer into the flashing lights. His body was calm but full of power. He growled, "Play fair, Victor, or I'll break your game." The music stopped for a moment. People stopped shouting. Everyone stared. Victor laughed a mean laugh. "Stay out of this, you old nobody," he said. He thought he couldn't lose. But something changed. The people who bet money started to look unsure. Some fighters looked at Victor with angry eyes. One even said, "He's dirty." The lights flashed again, showing the fear growing in Victor's eyes. Victor threw money at Leo. "Here's your prize, loser," he said. The money landed on the floor. People in the crowd cheered again. "Beat him," they shouted. They didn't care about cheating. They just wanted to win money. Bruno, the big fighter, walked toward Leo again. He was strong and scary. He hit Leo with an elbow. It hurt a lot. Leo fell to the side. Blood came out of his mouth, but his eyes still glowed with courage. Jason saw this. His jaw tightened. His fists closed. He was ready, but still waiting. He watched everything carefully. The crowd got loud again. The floor smelled like sweat and unfairness. Jason didn't move. He was like a lion watching its prey. The old man stepped forward again. "That kid's got a heart," he whispered. His eyes looked sad but proud. He didn't want Leo to be hurt. The room shook as people yelled. Fighters muttered. Their faces are angry. Something big was happening. Jason stood strong. His silence was louder than words. The flashing lights promised justice was coming. Victor was full of rage. He pushed Leo against the cage. "You're mine, puppet," he shouted. Bruno circled Leo like a hungry bird. He raised his fists again. The crowd went wild. People threw crumpled bills in the air. But some started chanting Jason's name. "Statham! Statham!" Their voices filled the room. Smoke filled the air. Leo's teeth were clenched. He dodged a big punch and stood tall. His hands were shaking, but he didn't fall. His dream, to help his sister, was burning inside him. Victor couldn't take that away. The cage rattled from the chaos. The lights blinked. Jason stepped into the middle of the glowing floor. His voice was loud and sharp. "Step off, Victor, or I'll break your scam." The crowd got quiet. People whispered, "Who is he?" Others said, "He's not a joke." The fighters watched, waiting. Victor tried to smile, but his mouth twitched. His gold chains shook. Something had changed. The storm was about to begin. As he shouted at Bruno, "Smash that loser now!" The sound was like a big thunderclap. The crowd got loud and excited. Fighters were hitting the cage, trying to get their chance to win. The noise was different from before, when Trent, a mean guy, was teasing and making fun of Leo. Now, everyone was watching closely. Leo was tired. He was hurt and breathing hard. But his eyes were bright and full of fire. He was not going to give up. He made a promise inside himself, a promise that made the people watching feel strong too. The lights flashing made the air feel full of energy and tension. Statham stood ready. His body was strong and trained for fighting. He looked like a spring ready to jump. He didn't want to give Victor, the bad boss, any chance to cheat again. Statham looked around carefully. The crowd's eyes were all on him, like a spotlight shining bright. An old man who was betting on the fight leaned forward and whispered loudly, "Statham is the real fighter. Victor is finished." The old man's voice was strong and full of hope for Leo. The old man also saw something bad happen. Bruno's punch was not fair. It was a trick, but Statham was ready. The crowd was full of excitement, like a fire burning fast. One fighter shouted, "Bring it on, Statham!" His voice was loud and clear, cutting through the music playing. More people joined in, cheering Statham. They wanted him to win. The crowd had changed. Before, they were saying mean things and hoping Victor would win, but now they were cheering for Statham. The air in the warehouse was very tense, like something big was about to happen. Victor's eyes moved quickly. He told Bruno, "End him now," but his voice was scary. The crowd was pushing forward. People betting on the fight were holding their bets tight, hoping for a win. Fighters hit the cage with their fists. Their whispers turned into loud shouts. The noise was very different from before, when everyone was quiet and nervous after Leo fell. Statham hesitated for a moment. He tightened his jaw and thought about the right time to fight back. His quiet was louder than Victor's angry words. The neon lights hurt his eyes, and smoke filled the air. The cage chains made loud creaking sounds, like a big beast waking up. The crowd started chanting louder. One fighter yelled, "Statham's got this." Everyone's faith in Statham was like a big wave. It was shaking Victor's empire made of lies. The fight was about to explode. The warehouse shook with the noise. Leo stood tall like a hero in the storm. Statham's eyes were sharp and ready. He promised to stop Victor's cheating. The Fight Club was a place where justice was strong like a big wave ready to crash. It was going to create a new day from Victor's lies. The story was exciting and made everyone watch with big eyes. The Fight Club, with its bright neon lights, was full of hope. Jason Statham jumped into the cage. His body was like a sharp blade cutting through the noise. He faced Bruno, a strong fighter called Hammer Varga. The fight was a test of skill and power. The lights flashed bright, breaking the dark. The mats on the floor shook under their feet. The crowd shouted. Fighters hit the cage, and people holding bets were nervous. The techno music was loud like a war cry, making everyone's heart beat fast. The crowd was watching a fight that felt like a big, bright star. Bruno hit hard with his heavy punches. It was like a storm coming at Statham. But Statham's elbows moved fast and sharp, cutting through the punches like knives. Then, Statham kicked Bruno's knee low. It made a cracking sound and Bruno's leg bent. The fighters gasped and said, "He's a beast." Their fists hit the cage, and they yelled, "We're losing everything." The air was full of panic and surprise. People holding money to bet waved their bills around, worried they would lose. This was very different from before when they shouted, "Take him down." Victor's eyes got big. His shiny gold chains caught the light as he shouted, "Do something, Hammer!" His voice was scary. His bad empire was shaking because Statham was winning. Statham kept hitting Bruno with powerful moves. A knee hit Bruno's ribs hard. Then a quick combo of elbows hit Bruno's jaw. Every punch was like a lightning bolt. Bruno was tired and sweating. He was big and strong, but he was starting to get smaller in the fight. His punches were wild and angry, but he was losing control. Leo got up from the floor. His fists were tight, and his eyes were full of fire just like Statham's. His dream to win and help his sister came alive again inside him. The crowd got louder, shouting, "Hammer's done." They cheered so much that it felt like a big wave. People holding bets groaned, "Our money's gone." Their greed and hope were breaking like glass. The lights flashed bright again, and the mat smelled of sweat and blood. The fight was a place where truth and justice were burning strong. Statham's best movie came next. He spun around and hit Bruno with an elbow like a falling star crashing into his jaw. Bruno fell to the floor with a loud thud. The cage shook as the crowd exploded with cheers. The sound was so loud it felt like the whole warehouse was shaking. The old man who bet on the fight jumped forward. His voice was loud and strong like a cannon. "He's the king. Victor is finished." The old man was loyal to Leo and believed in him. People who had seen Bruno's unfair punch were wincing, knowing the truth now. The fighters kept hitting the cage. The people who bet on the fight held their heads, sad that they lost money. Their voices were loud and full of sadness. This was very different from the jeers and mean words from before. Statham looked at Victor with angry eyes. He snarled, "Your cheating is over, Victor." Then he took a stolen purse from Victor's jacket and held it up high. The crowd gasped in surprise. Fighters shouted, "No more scams." Their fists went up in the air. The old man gasped, "He has proof." The truth hit the crowd like a big, bright star. Victor's empire was falling apart under the bright neon lights. Victor staggered, his smile broken. He tried to say, "It's not what it looks like," but his voice was weak. The crowd's loud cheers drowned out Victor's words. Fighters moved forward, their voices strong and brave. They were like a torch of fire burning away the lies. This was very different from the quiet silence after Leo fell down, or the hope that had been with Statham. Leo's eyes were bright with fire. He stood tall, his fists tight. He made a promise to keep fighting. His dream was alive again. The crowd rushed forward, chanting and cheering. The warehouse lights flashed like fireworks. The mat smelled of sweat and blood. Statham kept fighting with kicks, knees, and elbows. He fought through Bruno's tricky punches. Each hit showed his hard training and skill. The mat shook with every move, and the air was full of sweat and justice. The crowd's chants grew louder, like a wave. One fighter shouted, "Statham is unbeatable." Everyone believed in him. Their faith was like a big ocean wave, crashing down on Victor's fake empire. The neon lights burned in their eyes as the cage became a battlefield again. The story's voice was loud, telling the truth like a big explosion. Victor's empire was falling to pieces like ash in the wind. Every punch was like a spark that made the fire bigger. The crowd was hooked, watching a story brighter than the flashing lights. Leo stood up, shining like a beacon of hope. Statham's powerful fight was like a loud battle cry, promising to bring honesty from the broken lies. The Fight Club was full of stories that would be remembered forever. The warehouse was a place where justice burned bright like a fire. Victor leaned against the cage, tired and beaten. His gold chains didn't shine anymore under the soft fading lights. His voice was a broken whisper. It was just business. His pride was gone, and his empire was just ashes now. The crowd whispered quietly. Fighters raised their fists in victory. The people who bet on the fight slowly left, their greed gone. The mats on the floor pulsed with victory, and the lights dimmed down like glowing embers. Jason Statham stepped back calmly. His boots made quiet sounds on the blood-stained mats. He didn't brag or shout. His quiet strength said more than words. Leo stood up, breathing hard, his eyes full of pride. His dream of saving his sister was alive and burning like a strong fire. The old man who bet on the fight gripped Leo's shoulder. His voice was strong and proud. "You're tougher than steel, kid." The crowd agreed, shouting, "We're free now." Fighters raised their fists high. The people who bet on the fight said, "Victor is finished." Their voices were different from the loud roars before. The crowd moved like one big wave. They echoed Leo's brave stand. Fighters promised to make the Fight Club fair and honest again. This was a new start, a bright light in the warehouse's neon glow. It was not like other gyms or street fights. It was something special. Statham left the cage quietly. His boots made soft sounds on the mats. He didn't say a word. His actions were louder than any shout. He was like a giant whose fists had changed the Fight Club forever. The crowd watched. Fighters chanted, "No more scams." Their promise was strong. The noise from the fights and beats slowly faded. It was very different from the chaos when Bruno fell or the cheers for Statham. Leo's burning eyes watched Statham walk away. His victory was a spark that lit the whole warehouse. The air was full of hope. The lights flashed like a quiet fire. Nico nodded silently, showing his respect and support for Leo. The crowd's cheer was like a heartbeat in the new Fight Club. The story told by the fight was like a bright star. Justice was loud and strong, like a big wave. Victor's empire was falling like dust under Statham's strong power. The underground Fight Club was quiet now. Its chains hung still. The neon lights faded softly. It was a safe place now, ready to start new stories. Every shout was like a spark, lighting the fire for change. Jason Statham stood tall. His voice was like a bright light in a movie, calling out, "Fight for what's right or lose everything." His words cut through the air. He showed that cheating and greed don't make you strong. Only honesty does. Victor sat, defeated. He looked at the stolen purse, his head down. He whispered, "I went too far." His shame was quiet, different from his proud, cheating ways before. His reflection was like a small flame, burning away the lies of his empire. The crowd, the fighters, and the people betting all shouted together. They raised their fists and promised to have honest fights forever. Fighters hit the cage and shouted, "No more scams." The people betting said, "We are done with cheats." Their promise was like a big wave, loud and strong. This was different from the cheers of "We're free," or the loud roars from before. A new fight club was rising from Victor's ashes. It was a bright light of fairness that made everyone happy. Leo's eyes were bright and proud. His dream to save his sister was strong, made stronger by Statham's fight. The crowd promised to help every fighter and be united. Their togetherness was like a light in the fading neon glow. The story was about a big, bright fire. Justice roared like a strong wind. Statham's proof, Leo's purse, and Victor's cheating were burned into their minds. The warehouse was soft and glowing. It was a place made new again. Every shout was a spark that made the fire bigger. The story told by the narrator was like a sword, strong and sharp. Fighters promised to fight with their hearts. Leo's rising form was like a symbol. Statham's stand was a loud battle cry. The Fight Club's soul was alive. If you like this story, tell me in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more fun adventures and mysteries. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.